Hi, I'm Troy Guab, visual artist and designer from Seattle, Washington. And Purple Paradigm invited me to participate in this episode to talk about how Prince has influenced my work as a visual artist. And that's a long answer. So, in order to make sure I don't forget any crucial points I want to make, I'm presenting this video to you. But before we get started, I want to acknowledge and thank the other guests, Alan, Afshin, and Sam, whose work with Prince has absolutely directly inspired my work about Prince. And I am just honored and grateful to have been invited to participate in this episode with you guys. Thanks to Purple Paradigm and everybody involved. Now, without getting too autobiographical, I think I was born with a creative streak and I need to express myself as what we categorize as visual art. And I was always the art kid growing up in all the classes, and I took the role on with pride and relished it. And my dad would bring home extra paper from the office, and I would see that as an endless supply of possibilities. But it wasn't until I was 13 and discovered Prince that I began to realize and think about the way I wanted to be an artist. Today, I'm mostly known in the Prince fan community for the work I do that features Prince as the subject, naturally. But it's not just about the tribute work for me that relates to Prince. It's how he conducted himself as an artist. That's the true inspiration for me. There are several aspects of Prince's artistry and personal brand, so to speak, that lead me to draw on him for inspiration for my own. Work ethic. Now, my folks were hard workers with great work ethic that they instilled in me, from the get-go. But Prince's legendary work ethic went beyond comprehension, and while I wasn't able to build and sustain my creative life as a young man, I always aspired to that level of discipline even when I didn't have it. I have, though, always worked hard at whatever I have done, and that includes making my own way in the world as a visual artist. Now, I'm grateful to have the privilege of being creative for a living, and while I'm no Prince, I pretty much work all the time. I know the only way to get good at something or better at something is to work at it. Prince is the perfect example of that. From everything I've ever heard about him, he was almost cursed with an overactive mind that compelled him to work constantly. He played and played and played the piano until he mastered it as a kid, and then he moved on to the guitar and did the same thing, and so on. And now I'm not trying to measure up to Prince's work ethic because I never could, but he has certainly inspired me to work harder. Prolificy, or making a lot of work. Just because you make a lot of work doesn't mean it's quote unquote good. But if you add in quality with prolificy, then that describes Prince. And Prince oftentimes would create entire songs, masterpieces in one day. And that's another high level mark that I've transferred to my own creative life. I do make a lot of work, and I'm continuously working on the LPP project, posting a new LPP image every week. And that's, aside from the other work I make. My hope is that the quality is there, and I think it is. Eclecticism. I think the moment I realized you didn't have to be one thing as an artist was when Around the World in a Day came out. It blew me away. The music, yes, but the difference from what came before, that's really what got me. After being the biggest thing on the planet and the planet expecting him to deliver them Purple Rain Part 2, he switched it up and said, nope, and then again and again and again. There have always been artists that perfect their chosen medium and worked it to death. Nothing wrong with that at all. It sounds like death to me, or at least purgatory. And I have several series of bodies of work in media as diverse as the work itself. I have to give credit to Picasso as an influence on my own eclecticism as well. But I think that Prince and Picasso were equals in many ways. So that works for me. It was really, though, Prince's ability to jump from genre to genre and remake himself time and again that always excited me as an artist. And I've always wanted to emulate that. Some may say I'm all over the place with my work, but I say it's better than being stuck in one. I'm optimistic about the thought that a common thread runs through the entirety of my work. And Prince is responsible. He was an idea antenna. In the past few years, I've been learning more and more about how Prince worked with close collaborators and band members through various writings and interviews and books and podcasts and everything I can get my hands on. And one of the greatest takeaways for me is how he was always fully open to accepting ideas and inspirations from those around him. Idea antenna. He would distill those ideas through his own unique creative filter My subject matter, like my media choice, is fluid and wide in range, and it addresses iconography and identity and referencing contemporary culture and my relationship with it. I watch and look and read, and I take in media like everyone does. And then when inspiration strikes and I feel like I have to say something, I synthesize it into whatever it is I want to say in a visual manifestation. And I feel like that's very akin to what Prince did with his music. I have favorite visual artists that speak to me and have influenced my work for sure. Some more obvious than others, maybe. From Warhol to Koons to Duchamp to Yves Klein to Jasper Johns to Baldessari to Mondrian to Picasso. Pick up a trick here, a kernel there, a color palette here. Definitely informs my work. And I am a human being alive on planet Earth in the United States in the year 2020. And, there's so much input right now that it's kind of hard to discover what it even is that I'm really feeling. But I'm confident that there is some art brewing within. And speaking of confidence, Prince personified it. There was nobody like him. He made sure of that, and he made sure you knew it. His fearlessness and his self-expression was, this is going to sound corny, but intoxicating. It was the single most inspirational aspect of Prince for me since I began following him. Even if I didn't always immediately love what I heard or saw over the decades as a Prince fan, I respected it because he was always the bravest artist that there ever was. Fully committed to his art by any means necessary, and fully confident that what he was presenting you was the next big thing. Most musical artists craft a song over a period of time and make demos. Prince didn't. He went into the studio with the express intent of creating the final product, not to experiment or mess around. And if he was going to record something, it was going to be the thing. I don't really mess around either. I have an idea. It's usually a fully formed object or image in my head, and I go about the work of making it real. The media of choice is whatever best serves the idea, and the methods of fabrication are as wide in scope as the results. Self-taught. Okay, from what I understand, for the most part, Prince was a self-taught musician, taught himself how to play all the instruments, sing, write, and that inspires me to no end. I've taken an art class here and there, but I'm mostly self-taught. Growing up in the 60s or 70s, you had to either take lessons, learn from a mentor, or just put in the time. And Prince put in the time and learned from people like Sonny Thompson and Pepe Willie and his father, John Nelson. It was his passion that ran the machine. Without that, I don't think anything creative is possible. But with Prince, his musical machine ran at such a high level for such a long time that in a way it's intimidating, but it's also super inspiring. In the visual art world, there are no rules, but there surely are unspoken systems in place that can make being an artist without a degree feel like he's in an uphill battle. And that's been both a challenge and a source of fuel for me. Prince broke the rules and forged new ground and showed me that you don't need a degree to make art. And for that lesson, I will be forever grateful. Creation of worlds. Prince created utopian worlds for us to inhabit with his music, and we wanted to live there for sure. And he also created micro-universes with each new album that he would release. And, they'd have theme colors, everything purple until everything but purple, to black and white, to peach and black, and on and on. And, oh, how I miss that feeling, right? And, the one. What I'm getting at is the concept of the album, of pieces working together to tell the story of a whole. That idea I've borrowed several times in shows, mostly of sculpture built around themes or statements that I feel strongly about making. And that's what I really love to do, and I wish I could do more of it. My themes aren't necessarily utopian ones, though. In fact, I guess my vision is a little darker and maybe more dystopian warnings and arty snark than utopian. But the album concept is there, and again, because Prince. He said that his songs were like children. That's kind of how I feel about my work. And it's also a reach, it's, at immortality in making art. And Prince will always be forever. His work is as immortal as it gets. And I can only hope that folks will continue to appreciate and enjoy what I leave behind when I'm gone. There you go. So many ways that Prince has and will continue to shape my creativity. I will be forever grateful to him for his infinite inspiration. Thank you, Prince. Thank you for watching. Be well. Prince forever.